Hi, everyone. I'm Rinda Emick, and I am super excited for today's show. I have a good friend that I have got to get a little bit closer with here. She goes by Birdie. This is Birdie Nicksic. Birdie, welcome, friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, we got to room together just a few months ago, and I felt, first of all, I was so thrilled to be able to room with you. But I got to get a little bit closer with you. And actually, what I loved about you is like, if you hang out with Birdie, get ready to be healthier, wealthier, and more confident.
I love that.
The reason is, obviously, after you start talking a little bit, people are really going to get a sense for who you are. But I love your energy and your spirit. And why I say that is because I did my first cold plunge with Birdie.
Yeah, that's right.
We had a refrigerator full of fresh juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked a ton about real estate, a ton about vision and goals and all the things that we're working on. And I just seriously so enjoyed rooming with you.
Aw, thank you. Likewise. I love it when someone steps into my crazy isms and just fully embrace it. I love that. I love that you just jumped right in that cold plunge too. It's not for the faint-hearted. No,
it's not. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now.
Well, I'm working on quite a few things. So I always like to say this to people when this is only my second podcast.
What?
So I know, but when I do have these conversations, I do say, don't do what Birdie does. Don't do what I do, because shiny object syndrome is like my jam. It's my jam. And I think because I have had just the way I was raised and the fact that I was involved in so many things, very different things across the gamut of my entire life, that I've almost worked that muscle to the point where if I'm hyper focused on one thing or two things, I'm going to get bored. And that's neither here nor there, other than to say it's kind of a habit that I have. So I'm right now working on developing the co-living space with my husband in conjunction, in a partnership with a company here in Charleston that's been around for 120 years.
Nice.
They're a 501c3. They have a high barrier of entry program that is for homeless men. And so when I say high barrier of entry, what I mean is that these men come in, it's not just a hot shower and a hot meal and maybe a cot. I know that I cannot live like this anymore. I want to change my life. I'm committed. I'm all in. And they do an extensive intake. And then they're committed, and there's an expected level of responsibility and all of the things. So This organization's been around for 120 years. It's helped, I don't even know how many men, but they have a wait list. So men show up at the door and they come in and they say, I'm ready. And then the director there and the chaplain have to say, we don't have any beds. Please keep coming back. And so it's a tiered program where they level them up as they show bigger and better intention for themselves. And they don't have enough beds. So we're partnering with them to find that affordable housing outside of what they have currently so that they can move these men along. And like we see everywhere, it's tricky to find those deals. Mm-hmm. So we are looking and underwriting loads of things and trying to find places in Charleston that are close to city transportation, or walking, whatever. But those are the expensive areas. And so I think we're getting close. We have some things that we're eyeing, and so that's exciting. So we're working on that. I'm currently working on finding a dear friend, and you probably know her. She's in sub 2. She's a TC. She and I are going to do a fix and flip in Aiken, South Carolina.
Nice.
And then I have a property just under contract that I'm developing. And I believe we don't have it on paper yet. Well, I'm not going to say it yet because it hasn't been locked in. But somebody else in Owners Club actually is partnering with me to develop this piece of property downtown Charleston. So I'm going to be doing ground up, which is exciting because that's something I've never done.
Okay.
And then overall, I'm developing and working with a few Owners Club people on my flyby program, which is I fly in as I don't know if you know this, but I had a design business for 11 years. That was my side hustle when I was an actress for 30 years. So then I had my design business and I loved it. But when I moved to Charleston, I did not want to continue that. So I just actually being right before we had our spring retreat, it occurred to me because I kept asking myself, what value am I really bringing to the community? How can I bring value? And I realized there's so many people who are fix and flipping, or there's people who are fixing up and holding properties that don't really know maybe what they're doing or how to spend the money or how to get the best return.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to create this program. So I have a few clients now that are in Texas. I have one that I'm working on in another location. So I fly in, I walk through the property, I consult them on where to spend the money, how to spend the money, where not to spend the money. I look at the comps. I look at the comps that haven't sold, and I talk to them about why those maybe haven't sold. And I work with the contractor. I do design boards, and I'll do a couple of revisions, and then they run the job as every fix and flipper or person should do. So they run the job. I remove myself. Typically as a designer, you're there the whole way through. And the hardest part is babysitting the subs and the contractor and the orders. So I basically kind of just help them with the boards. I talk to them about where they can source the items, and then it's on them. They have to learn how to do it. And so it's a good thing. And I feel like they're learning, so they're getting value. They're getting a designer's eye and consultation for a very, very, very small amount of money. And everyone wins because the end product is going to be
much better,
much nicer. Yeah. Better spent money. And also, by the way, the lender is more secure knowing that borrower has spent their money wisely.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really developing that. And that's exciting because I think, and of course I love flying and being belly to belly with all of you people who I love. And, so it's really good. So those are the things I'm working on.
When you say comps, right, a lot of times people are looking at comps and they're thinking about like comparable sold price. And that's the extent of it. When I hear you say comps from a design perspective, what I'm hearing is you're looking at why this house sold interior wise, design wise, why this one sold 20,000, 50,000 more, what you can see in this property, why it sold less. And so you're looking at it from a design eye, right? It's just a fix and flipper. And all they know is I just got to go in and either do low quality, high quality, or mid quality. Like they don't get the design eye, right?
Right. So yes, I do make sure they're comps though. So they're like same neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. So part of the piece that I think is really, really important that people don't always take into account is that when you're in an area and say I'm a fix and flipper and I've been working on $300,000 to $500,000 houses, and all of a sudden now I'm across town and I'm in a $700,000 to $800,000 neighborhood.
Yes.
You have to really know your market, who you're targeting, like who's buying these houses, and understanding why the houses in that neighborhood that haven't sold, why they haven't sold. You need to understand the pulse of the neighborhood, which is why I like going. I like being there. I like driving around. I like to see what amenities and services this particular neighborhood has. What is the demographic? You have to know all of these things. They matter. So, so comping is absolutely, I mean, not just the size and the zip code, but you have to walk into a house. Obviously, if you're looking at apples to apples and this house is redone, but they've done it wrong, you don't want to copy that house.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely lessons around that, because I mean, we know plenty of lenders who've lended on properties that, are maybe they've done a few flips, the borrowers, and they just don't renovate properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the property doesn't sell, or it doesn't sell for what they think it can, or now people are put in a position of potentially losing money or did lose money.
Yes.
So I think it's so special to have someone like you come in from that design perspective and go, here's what fits this really well. Here's how you get top dollar. I didn't know that that's what your flybys were. I thought your flybys were like,
just me coming to visit. Yeah. I'm just flying in to say hi. Take me to dinner. Yeah. No. That would be, I would do that maybe.
Yeah. I was like, I was flying in.
Flying in. No, I actually do have a purpose. I mean, I just think it's super important. I think that, in this world of screens and telephones, there is something which goes to say, going back to my podcast when it does happen, I really think there's something special about the energy that you have when you're in a space, 100%. Right? Understanding, somebody's sending me pictures. I mean, we've all experienced this. When you go on Zillow and you look at pictures of a house, first of all, they're almost always filtered. Yeah. I mean,
it's like catfish for online dating. Right?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah, this room looks way smaller in person. Right. So we've all experienced that. And so I think when you are physically in a house and then you walk out onto the street and you get a sense of that feeling that neighborhood has, that all has to come into play when you're doing a fix and flip. It has to. So I think we lose a lot just doing, like, if I were to consult online with pictures, even videos, you really miss immense amounts of opportunity. So that was just, I'm at a place in my life where I can travel. I can, and I cap my fee includes the plane ticket on the front end, which is capped at $500. But I could, with enough notice, I could get, I think, anywhere in the country for $500.
Sure.
So that's not a ridiculous thing. So I love it. I love inspiring also. I was working with a contractor the other day, actually, down in Savannah.
Ooh.
And yes, I'm doing something down there. And I just loved walking it with the sub-2 partner and the contractor. And when you walk through a house and they get so excited when you solve a problem.
That's so awesome.
As most people do, right? And I get really passionate. I'm sure you know this about me. I'm very animated, so I can get really excited. And I have learned in my design business for 11 years, there are absolutely battles that I will not fight. If you want to pick out an ugly sofa for your house, go for it. But I am not going to let you put glass block in that wall.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there's just certain There's just certain things and people love, and listen, there is a market for the DIY. We're in the DIY world. I think it's great. It's fun. It gets people's blood moving a little bit, but you cannot take all of your favorite DIY things and put it in one house. That's never going to be a good idea.
Oh my gosh, Birdie.
I mean, it happens.
It so does. This is so funny to me because my husband is an architect and a landscape architect and has such a high level design eye. And so when he looks at something, he's like, no. And I'm like, can we just buy it at Target? I mean, come on now. Can we just really, I'll just buy this from Target and then I'll get this from TJ Maxx and then I'll buy, and he's like, you're not allowed to decorate anything.
No, right. Isn't it funny?
I would need a Birdie.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that typically in every household, there's one person who's got the eye.
Yeah.
And the other person who's like,
Yeah. I'm way more like, where are we going to find the people? Who's going to live here?
Well, yeah, you live in a remote. It's interesting. I have a family member who bought a large house and then decided he didn't want to furnish half of it.
He just loved half of
it. Don't need furniture.
Yeah.
So everyone's got a thing, everyone's got a thing, but so it's a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it, and I really do enjoy knowing that I'm giving little gems to these people so that they can start to sort of maybe see things through a different lens.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So I'm working on that. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you guys are also investors too, and you guys get involved in a lot of deals in different ways.
Yeah.
Like I know you've done, you've lended on stuff before.
Right.
I remember this time at community camp, which was July, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting there talking right there on the lake, and you're like, it just hit me. Like you had this epiphany that this is how you wanted to start working towards more of this design consulting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What was like that turning moment for you? Because you're investing, you're lending, you're doing a lot of things, right? But what was like that pivotal kind of like moment for you where you're like, this is it, I got it, I'm going to start focusing here?
For the flyby?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have very big ideas that usually aren't cheap. And I kept saying to my husband, like, I just want to be able to give back, though, on a very real level in the community.
Ooh, okay.
And I just was, I couldn't put my finger on it. And I don't know why. All the while, it was right in front of me. It was the thing that I just am naturally good at. Do you remember when Russell Brunson was speaking and he said, he was on stage and he said that he went into a company and they paid him, I won't say the amount just in case, a lot of money, well into six figures, to come into the company and fix a bottleneck.
Yep.
And he said, I love that because I went in and I looked at the, say their org chart or whatever it was, where they were stuck. And I said, you need to move these three things. And he goes, that was it. I did it. It was so easy for me to see that. And they paid me so much money. And I couldn't believe that they paid me so much money to fix those three things, like to just move some things around. And I loved that because I feel like that is me in the design space. And it's like, you don't really think that people maybe would pay you to do it. I mean, I knew because I had a design business, but in the sense that I could consult and not babysit the job.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it never occurred to me that is something that I can step into the space. And in 2 days, I can tell you exactly what you should do and show you the boards. In that first week, you'll have all of these images, and it's very easy for me.
Yeah.
And I'm open for I'm open for a dialogue. Obviously, the dialogue has to happen because budget is you have to take that into account. And so, but it just, I don't know what it was actually. I was talking to somebody about a home that had been on the market for about a year.
Oh, wow.
And it was a not really nice house. It was actually very high end. And when I had my design business, I lived in a very, very expensive area in Southern California. So I worked on multi-million dollar houses. So that's and I can do non-multi-million dollar houses, but I just sharpened that pencil for a lot of years. But he was showing me this property and I was like, oh, and I just basically said, here's why it's not selling. And I listed 3 things. And he was like, oh. And I said, I know that as the investor, he's the lender on it. You don't want to lend more money or go in and spend more money to fix it. But you have to look at your options. Because that's not what people want in that town for that type of house.
Wow.
And I hate that. But it's better to know, right?
Yeah. And it's real. It's the reality, and
yeah.
That's pretty powerful. So in your design background and when you had your design company, that was is that focused more towards like you going in and designing for people's homes versus now it's for fix and flippers.
Right.
So taking the gift, and turned it into like giving back. So for instance, in the sub 2 space, in the real estate investor space, doing lots of fix and flips, it's so neat to see you take that gift and now provide a service in our community.
Yes. So it makes me feel so happy that I can actually involve myself with an actual, with big value.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it didn't occur to me before. I think because in my mind, as a designer, I had to build it the same way. I've just have my own company. I have to have all the things and the processes that I had before. And I realized, oh my gosh, I don't.
Wow.
That's so good. I love it. I love that I can do it.
So,
can you mute? Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you so much, Birdie, for joining me. How can people get a hold of you? Because you don't have your handle up on this.
Oh, I don't.
No.
Oh. So thebirdie@icloud.com is my email.
Okay.
And Instagram is birdie.nicksic. And same for Facebook. What's that?
Spell Nicksic just for people.
Oh, Nicksic. I need to put my info on here.
Yes, you will.
See, I'm learning all of these things.
You're so cute. We will put it in the description of the show, so don't worry about that. But thank you, Birdie. I appreciate your time. I know this was short and sweet, but that's okay.
But I would love to do a part 2.
Yeah, let's do it. I want to dive into a little bit of like you personally, because I love how you incorporate like self-care and how you take care of I just love that about you. Like, so I would love to even hear some more of that side of you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, we've had some conversations about that. So let's definitely touch on that.
Yeah.
And how we incorporate who we are within our business.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Rinda. It was nice to be here. Okay. Talk to you soon.